Last night, a 16-year-old girl's life support was turned off. She'd been shot on Tuesday at school by one of her classmates. Another shooting. So this shooting came 4 days before tomorrow. Tomorrow there's going to be what we call March for Our Lives. And the basis of it is going to be in Washington, D.C., where thousands of students are expected to gather on the nation's capital to rally for gun control and for safer schools in the wake of the deadly February 14th school shooting in Parkland, Florida, in which 17 people were killed and 14 people were injured. So after deadly shootings like that, the debate always seems to be one side argues for gun control, and the other side argues that there's no research that says those measures would help. Well, of course there's no measures that say, there's no information to say that those measures can help, because our Congress, in its infinite wisdom, passed an amendment in 1996 called the Dickey Amendment. And this prevents the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, from investigating and the widespread use of guns. Okay, it prevents using money to advocate or prevent gun control. The National Rifle Association pushed for this amendment after public health researchers produced a series of studies that suggested that having a gun in the house increased the risk for homicide and suicide. Duh. They deemed the research politically motivated. So the actual amendment was sponsored by Jay Dickey, who's a congressman from Arkansas. And it does not explicitly forbid research on gun-related death. It just forbids research on advocacy of that. But the Congress lowered the CDC's budget that year by the exact amount that they used for research. The CDC got the message, so they don't do it anymore. Now the CDC is best known for fighting disease. That's why it's, it's a Center for Disease Control. It's in the name. But it's also a public health purview is wider than that. They study drownings, accidental falls, traumatic brain injuries, car crashes, suicides, and more. But they're not allowed to check out gun violence. The problem, researchers say, is also a lack of data. While motor vehicle deaths are tracked in minute detail in the faculty and analyst reporting system, whatever that is, no such comparable database exists for gun deaths. Over 30,000 gun deaths in the United States, and the CDC is not allowed to look at it. Dickey himself, he died last year, but before that, in 2012, he co-authored a Washington Post op-ed with Mark Rosenberg, who was the CDC official that he was working against at the time of the amendment. Those two got together in 2012, and they argued for more gun violence research. Dickey said he wished that he had not been so reactionary. So why is this relevant? Well, tomorrow is going to be what they call the March for Our Lives. Survivors of the Parkland High School shooting have mobilized to launch the Never Again movement, that's a hashtag movement, and the March for Our Lives, a nationwide protest on tomorrow to protest gun violence. And actually, several members of this community are going to Spokane to march in that protest also. This is a student-led gun control protest to demand that their lives and safety become a priority, and that we end this epidemic of mass shootings in our schools today. Now, I was wondering about the use of the words our and mine and we, and I realized that I have nieces and nephews that go to college, high school, junior high school, and grade school. And I have nieces and nephews that have children that go to college, high school, and kindergarten. Okay. So I'm going to use those terms. Okay. Not one more. We cannot allow one more child to be shot at school. We cannot allow one more teacher to make a choice to jump in front of a firing assault rifle to save the lives of their students. We cannot allow one more family to wait for a call or text that never comes. Our schools are unsafe. Our children and teachers are dying. We must make it our top priority to save their lives. March for Our Lives is created by, inspired by, and led by students across the country who will no longer risk their lives waiting for somebody else to take action to stop the epidemic of mass school shootings that has become all too familiar to all of us. In the tragic wake of the 17 lives brutally cut short in Florida, politicians are telling us that now is not the time to talk about guns. March for Our Lives believes this time is now. Tomorrow, the kids and families of March for Our Lives will take to the streets of Washington, D.C. and other places to demand that their lives and safety become a priority. The collective voices of March for Our Lives movement will be heard. School safety is not a political issue. There cannot be two sides to doing everything in the power to ensure that lives and futures of children who are at the risk of dying when they should be learning, playing, and growing. The mission and focus of March for Our Lives is to demand that a comprehensive and effective bill be immediately brought forth before Congress to address these gun issues. No special interest group, no political agenda is more critical than timely passage of legislation to effectively address the gun violence issues that are rampant in this country. Parkland shooting survivor Emma Gonzalez said, "Every kid in this country now goes to school wondering if this day might be their last. They live in fear. It doesn't have to be this way. Change is coming, and it starts now, inspired by and led by the kids who are our hope for the future. Their young voices will be heard. If politicians don't turn around right now and state their open support for this movement, they are going to be left behind." You are either with us or against us, is what she said. So March for Our Lives is the latest in a series of large-scale demonstrations following the Parkland shootings. On March 14th, students walked out of class around the country as part of an event organized by the Women's March, and similar walkouts occurred the week following the shooting. Yet another walkout is planned for April 20th, the 19th anniversary of the Columbine shooting, in which 15 people were killed and 21 injured. In addition to that, to the demonstration in Washington, D.C., supporters are also planning sister marches in New York City, Boston, Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, San Francisco, Dallas, Boise, West Palm Beach, Liverpool, England, and hundreds of other cities across the world. The event is being put together by survivors of the Stoneman Douglas shooting who have been working tirelessly to make sure the national outrage in the wake of February 14th shooting translates to real action. As people gather, participants are also coming together to register voters at various marches to ensure the outrage today will translate to high turnout in November's midterm elections. In other words, watch out, guys. As people gather across America this weekend to demand action on gun reform, it will include the diversity of America from all sexes, age groups, economic levels, races, religions, and it will include gun owners and non-gun owners alike. They want you to stand with them tomorrow, to refuse to allow one more needless death. If for whatever reason you can't attend a rally on March 24th, tomorrow, there are other ways to help. You can donate to the GoFundMe page Stoneman Douglas students put together to pay for the event. You can also sign the organized petitions calling on Congress to pass legislation to address gun violence. And if you can go to a rally, like we will, go out and march with students and families across the country to tell lawmakers, never again.